What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Koppai Podcast, episode 77. I am one of your hosts, Kaz Risk, joined alongside Mr. Koppai himself, Zach Risk.
Super Mario Odyssey! Woohoo! Let's go! Hey, yeah!
All right. Does he even say that at the start? I don't even know.
That's exactly how the start goes.
I haven't.
Super Mario! Woohoo! Yeah, yeah! Wah!
He's just a freak now. It's like when South Park took all the chef sound bites and morphed them together to make it's just they take Charles Marnette's voice and just
that's what it's gonna be like one day when he dies. It's gonna be just like some piece.
I wonder if they have him just in a studio, just going through every word, just
these are our
dictionary
potential future Mario game names.
Yeah.
But because I thought about that several times, there's a couple really new sounding. They have to be new, recorded for the game sound bits, and they always want to get it higher quality. And so it's like, man,
there has to be some kid out there, probably even listening to Koppai Podcast right now, that's sitting in front of a mirror, probably Noah Kenny, just practicing his Mario voice for the day that Charles dies.
It's true.
They're going to be ready to go. Probably sounding more like Mario than even Charles does.
Yeah, because it's like Super Smash Brothers. They have really no problem finding a new guy to do the announcer, or the character names, and it always kind of has the same, similar sound to it. Mm-hmm. You might not be able to immediately tell that it's a totally different guy, from the different games, but
yeah.
But
we are the #1 voice actor discussion show here on the internet, where we talk about voice actors and pretty video games. No. We're a gaming podcast. Each and every week we sit down to talk about video games, and today we're going to be talking about Super Mario Odyssey. In case you haven't been able to tell so far, it came out this past Friday, but kind of Thursday night, and we've been playing it all weekend, tons and tons of hours. We don't know because Nintendo doesn't tell us right off the bat. We've been playing it a ton. I think I'm well over... what would it be, 200 moons in the game. We are a fair bit into it. We don't know. We've been avoiding spoilers, so we don't know, how far away the end is, what the post-game content is, and so that won't be in our discussion this week. This is kind of more initial impressions and discussion and kind of, basing a review off of what we've played so far. There's not going to be much that drastically changes in terms of gameplay. If anything, we're going to be more and more impressed with the amount of content in the game as we discover it. But we're already pretty satisfied with the content we've had so far. So we're going to be talking about that today, kind of going over the initial concept of the game, what we think about the Odyssey structure, Nintendo's return to form with the kind of 64 Super Mario Sunshine structure of things compared to Galaxy and 3D Land and World. We'll be talking about the graphics a little bit. Maybe in our graphics discussion, talk about some of the kingdoms, some of the worlds, the world building they've done. The sound, that's actually a really fun discussion we can get into with the music, the sound effects, and all of that. And then the overall playability, entertainment, and replayability factor, how those all kind of culminate together. If it's a game that, you'll be selling in a few months, or if it's a game you're going to be returning to, and just how it plays, especially touching on motion controls, because that's kind of a hot button issue with this game as people play the game on handheld and with pro controllers, and so on and so forth. And so sit down, take off your pants, enjoy the discussion as we get into this. Unless you're driving in your car, listening to this on your way to work or your way home, don't start unbuckling and doing all that.
Jumping out.
Just kind of pushing their seat back, trying to, Koppai said, better get it done. I don't know who it is. I know they've tweeted at us before, but they say they listen on their way home from work. And I wonder why they listen on their way home from work and not on their way to work. Maybe they like it as an end of the day sort of thing. They can't go into work, listen to us, otherwise we'll just be too jacked up.
Yeah, nice to unwind.
Yeah. So, Zach.
Yeah.
Super Mario Odyssey.
Super Mario Odyssey.
On a scale of Sonic Boom to Knack, where does this lie as far as 3D platformers, 3D adventure games, a Mario game? Scale of Sonic Boom to Knack, where does it go?
Right in the middle, and it's a pyramid with Super Mario Odyssey on the very top.
That sounds about right.
It's so perfect. It's just everything I could have wanted, and I just expected. It's just gonna keep expanding upon it. There's just endless wonder and charm, and it's everything that they culminated from Mario, from 3D Marios, and everything they've learned from the past, even and mixing in some of the 2D elements to it. It's just, I mean, I don't know what else to say other than I'm just completely infatuated and in love, and just I just want to get back to it. I want to play more and more, but of course, reality, and I can't just play nonstop Mario. But what one of the really cool things is it's so huge that I just don't feel any like regret, or hesitation to go just all out on it and go searching and knocking out the kingdoms as I go. And it's just, I mean, I'm just so in love. It's the perfect kind of game that I love to pick up and play, but also great for the super long sessions, kind of what we loved Zelda about. They kind of nailed that really well with like the Korok seeds and lots of little things to do, but then just it's like it's so much more condensed in a way but it's still really big, that there's so much that there's actually gameplay more. I mean, instead of kind of simple puzzles, I don't know, there's more platforming kind of involved things. It's hard to explain.
Yeah,
but
I think, I mean, if you were to look at the Korok seeds, like I guess talking about the concept of Super Mario Odyssey, the main gameplay loop is finding the moons and finding the coins, the regional coins. And just like, with Odyssey or with Breath of the Wild, the kind of continuous gameplay hoop that made it so perfect for the Nintendo Switch especially was it was so pick up and play, because you either going and completing a shrine or going and finding some Korok seeds in the midst of exploring this awesome open world. And Mario Odyssey in that regard's very much so similar. It's kind of the Breath of the Wildification of the Mario franchise. It's quick little moons here and there, and you do a ground pound over here and you get a moon real quick, or you go over here and you do a wall jump and smack a bell and there's a moon inside. I don't think I haven't done that, but I mean, just like little things like that.
Right.
And so in the same way that Breath of the Wild was, you go and you see 3 trees, you knock one of the branches down, you get yourself a Korok seed. There's just constantly something to do and engage. But with the Korok seeds, there was like, I think maybe 5 or so different ways to maybe get a Korok seed, or 10 at max, where it was either put a rock in the middle of a circle, or knock down an apple from a tree, or place an apple in a shrine. Like, I mean, you can list, like, if I were to really think hard about it, I could list them all out and we would know, okay, now take that times whatever it is to equal 900. That's your entire Korok seeds. And the shrines were a little bit different, but there's only 120 unique shrine puzzles, where in Mario Odyssey, there's 100 coins per kingdom, or not 100 coins per kingdom. Some of them have I think the minimum has been 50 so far. There's about 50 to 100 coins per kingdom that you can go find. And some of them are super well hidden. I spent last night, Zach, you had to give me a hint. I spent over an hour looking for 2 coins, the last 2 coins I needed in the Metro Kingdom. And I mean, I searched everywhere. I can't believe I didn't find them in that one spot. I think it's just because it was so close to the start of the level, and I spent so long looking for them. And yeah, it's just there's moments like that. And then the moons are, some of them are on par with what a Zelda shrine would be. So, but you have hundreds of them.
Yeah.
And so it's taking that kind of gameplay hook, which works awesome on the Switch, applying the Mario charm and formula to it, and then that doesn't even begin to get into what Cappy brings to the table. Cappy is Mario's new hat, the one you probably see with the googly eyes. You can throw him, and anything that's not wearing a hat you can capture. So bullet bills, Goombas, I mean, anything that has a remote sort of hook on the top of it that the hat can stick onto is capturable. I mean, frogs, anything.
Right.
And then they've been pretty liberal so far with, if you possess something, you can pretty much go anywhere with it. They do a few sort of natural barriers, you'll possess something with, wheels or something that rolls or whatever, and there'll be a staircase, and it's okay, you can't go up that. And they do that intentionally,
or
to
if
make sure
you
they don't break the game.
Go through a door, teleport inside to a new location, usually you lose the power up.
But I mean, they
that
really
seems to make sense.
Just like Breath of the Wild kind of broke Zelda by saying, all right, you know what, just go ahead and jump anywhere and climb anywhere and use any of your abilities at any time. Mario does the same sort of thing, where they just break Mario and say, all right, You
Yeah.
can be anything, do anything. If you want to fly, possess a something that can fly. If you want to go really fast. If you want to go on spikes or ice or whatever, just possess whatever you need to possess,
Hmm.
and you're
Well,
good
it
to
was
go.
making me think about something that this game, I mean, it does like what Breath of the Wild does, but when you think about Zelda versus Mario, it's like Zelda is trying to create a bit more of a realistic, immersive experience. It's, kind of taking some inspirations from like Witcher and Skyrim and like, trying to make something that feels
Yeah,
alive and real. And Mario is kind of almost the opposite of that, where it just, revels in the absurdity of things and wants to just push, Mario's mobility and his mechanics can allow for way more than Link can do,
yeah,
and the history of what they've put in terms of characters and just weird random stuff in Mario, in the universe. It's like they can push that, way more than they could do in probably any Zelda game, because the characters they've created are, goblins and they've created a lot in the Zelda universe, but not in terms of all these different little gameplay characters that are
yeah,
constantly interacting with you. And so it just Mario pushes that to an extreme that's just overwhelming with creativity, and it's just something that does in a lot of ways, like kind of what you mentioned, the similarities between the moons and like the Korok seeds and coins, but just with the absurdity and the gameplay elements that they can, accomplish with a Mario title. And so
yeah.
it really makes the competition for Game of the Year really interesting because of just how much, Mario excels really in probably much more in the gameplay department
Yeah.
than Zelda does, because when you think about Zelda's gameplay, I don't know, it's like it's definitely a tough thing
The
because,
sword combat in Zelda is really nice, but I mean, it's
yeah.
just but the tricky thing when you're comparing Zelda to Mario, and like when we're getting to this, Game of the Year discussion and what's Nintendo's like, especially the Switch Game of the Year. When you
Hmm.
get into Game of the Year, you can talk about, I'm going to talk about Horizon and those sort of games that have come out that really have been Game of the Year contenders in completely different regards. But especially when you're talking about the Switch and Nintendo, the tricky thing is like you're comparing Link's gameplay to Mario, but it's not as simple as comparing the sword combat and the shield surfing and the kind of, the bow and arrow, because like all that's perfection in Breath of the
Right.
Wild. It's really satisfying, especially like in Master Mode, to land the perfect dodge, then you do a flurry rush, and you feel like you can kind of like quickly go and cut down a tree. Like you have that same sort of freedom that you have like with Mario Odyssey. But the thing
Hmm.
with Mario Odyssey is you're not only comparing Link to Mario, but you're comparing Link to what it feels like to play as a frog, and what it feels like to play
Yeah.
as a Goomba, and what it feels like to play as a Bullet Bill. And I'm trying to stick to things that we've kind of seen in trailers. And so
Right.
like you're comparing all of that together, and it just it almost seems like Mario wins because not only does he have this kind of matching quality of gameplay, but he also has more quantity of gameplay. So
Right.
you
It was
just
making
you
me think about that too. About it's kind of interesting because Zelda really thrives on the puzzles and then kind of the awe and wonder of, the worlds and just the
Hyrule, yeah.
expansion of it and everything, and just kind of the cool art things they do and just beautiful things. Whereas I feel like Mario has that as well, has all the puzzles, and then also has, absolutely perfect nailed, the platforming gameplay element that
Hmm.
feels great like to play,
Yeah.
and so it almost makes it kind of seem to win by default. But then there's a whole bunch of other elements, like, your feelings about it, and where you were and what,
Yeah,
there's a
especially
lot
the
of things to
2D
take into
the 2D
consideration.
portions of Mario Odyssey, like where you go into a pipe, you enter into the 8-bit era where you play. I mean, they've thrown in like 2D Mario levels into this game just nonchalantly. And there's some moments like where they really build up the nostalgia of that, and I wonder if those would have the same sort of impact. But in the same way, a lot of Breath of the Wild, like key moments between Link and Zelda, like the story aspect of it, really I think are hinging on you kind of have a familiarity with the character's history together throughout all the other Zelda games.
Hmm.
Like it kind of has impact when Link and Zelda begin to bond in Breath of the Wild compared to like, you know, I don't know, like compared to if you hadn't played any other Zelda games, you'd be like, all right, what's the deal with these two? But because they have such a rich history, that kind of plays into it too. But the thing that, I mean, and we'll get into it kind of as we go on with this discussion, but the other thing that Mario has really going for it, I think, and this isn't like a crap on Zelda sort of thing. Like, I mean, it's comparing two 10 out of 10 games. But the thing that Mario, I think, really does have going for it is in terms of graphics and sound. Like, the graphics look like a Pixar movie, are absolutely gorgeous. The photo mode is so fun, because it's like you just get to show off how beautiful the world is and zoom into it and apply filters and effects, just enhance it. Where Breath of the Wild, we've already talked about it. We were kind of talking about it, I think, with our kind of anticipation of Mario Game of the Year discussion. We were talking about how Zelda's already, like, the moment it came out, was already starting to show its kind of, ambition, and was a little bit dated because some of the textures are a little bit blockier, a little bit muddier, and like, I'll be the first to say, I think I said when we first did our discussion of Zelda that it was gorgeous, that there's several, I think I have like 3,000 photos on my Switch that I've taken, like, and I'm pretty sure 1,500 of them are Zelda and the other 1,500 are Mario so far. Like, I'm not taking pictures of Mario Kart, like, it's pictures of my adventures in Zelda and all that. And so I think the game's gorgeous, but Mario just no doubt has the color and vibrancy and diversity that Zelda doesn't have. And that was one of my biggest disappointments with Zelda, was very rarely do you have those classic Zelda motifs of music. Like, there's no change of sound really when you get to a certain desert area or when you get to an ice area in Zelda, where usually you would have a different song. In Breath of the Wild, it's all kind of contingent on the nature noises and the snowy noises and the wind blowing. Right. Where Mario Odyssey, like, this may be the first video game soundtrack I actually purchase in a long time. Like, I want this on vinyl with a cool little map vinyl, that has like that Odyssey map and stuff. Like, I want to own this in every possible medium because the music is so good.
Yeah, it is.
Like, and I want to give a quick, like, I don't know if he's involved with this. It's very Banjo-Kazooie, like Grant Kirkhope sort of vibe.
Yeah.
Down to like the dialogue, like where people are talking. Like, the little Cappy's talking to you, and it's very much so like, Banjo-Kazooie are talking to each other, and it's just meow, 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 meow. Like, I got, like, there's definitely some people that talk in the game that it seems ripped straight out of, like, a Banjo-Kazooie sort of vibe of, like, even more so than other Nintendo games or Mario games where normally it's, like, one little, like, grunt or phrase. But in Odyssey, it's just constant meow, 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 meow.
Well, it definitely made me think about, now we're at the point where Odyssey is here. Ukulele hasn't arrived yet, still. And,
on Switch, yeah.
But on Switch, and that's like the point, because it's like, where does that game stand on Switch now? Because it really kind of seemed to fail to live up to expectations, and I kind of was playing Odyssey thinking about them, about what they think of it, since it is one of those return to forms of their kind of era where they were still active and doing it, so well that, Nintendo of course does. But, I just wonder if they are like, dang, like they nailed it again. And like the things that they do, I hope that maybe they take some notes from Odyssey in terms of, revisiting Ukulele in the future with a 2 or, something like that. But I just wonder, where my interest is going to be now in Ukulele at this point.
The thing with Ukulele that they could easily do, and it seems like Mario Odyssey has done, is like, I guess we had it with Flood a little bit, like with the jetpack, like the water jetpack, but it's really cool to see Mario playing with kind of an assistant, like it's like with Cappy having like I haven't done as many as I wish I know I probably could do more, but like where you throw out Cappy and you can jump on Cappy while it's holding in the air, like, and doing really cool far jumps because of that.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of cool to have that really back because
I've gotten really far like that.
Yeah. And
it's so cool. It's so fun to like try to see how far you can dive. I wish there was almost like a measurement or an achievement for that, leaderboards.
Yeah, and I know I've had a few moments, I think, where like Cappy just is like full on unavailable. Like there's like little scarecrows or something you can throw him on, and it's like a timer challenge. And with those challenges, you don't get. It's kind of like the classic where Shadow Mario would take your flood pack away. Like, it's just these levels and moments where you don't have your assistant. And it's really crazy how it changes. Like, oh, wait, like, you don't realize it, but there's so many moments where you just instinctively throw out Cappy to kind of give yourself a little bit of extra hanging moment in the air to change your momentum. And when you don't have that, it's just like, oh, I feel so like bare and naked and stuff without it. And it's interesting how they kind of play off each other as companions and also throw in the regional coins. It really does, not only the music, but the gameplay too brings me back to Banjo-Kazooie of like having a little assistant that lets you go up slopes or lets you go up certain areas, and then also going around and collecting little coins reminds me of collecting like the little puzzle pieces and stuff like that. And so it just seems to do like what all of the classic 3D platformers wanted to do, just perfectly all in one game. Yeah. And so, I don't know how Yooka-Laylee is going to do it. Or I'm even wondering, like, oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's definitely going to, at least be somewhat soured by Odyssey, as well as like almost all, 3D platformers are after this point. It's kind of like, after Zelda, it set a new benchmark for, action adventure role-playing games moving forward. Like Odyssey does another, open world. And this does another standard for platforming games, 3D platformers moving forward, that those games that kind of came out awkwardly around that same time, maybe like what was the other game that came out right around Witcher or something that they've been building for years and years and just ended up failing. But
I think it was Fallout 4.
Fallout 4. That's what it was.
Yeah, because Fallout 4 just did not have nearly the amount of depth that Witcher 3 did. I loved Fallout 4 though. But.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I think Horizon Zero Dawn was one that got really hit by Breath of the Wild because everyone played, Horizon after playing Zelda, and we're like, wait, I can't climb everything, and I can't, go in every building instantaneously and all of that. But then I think a few months later, everyone returned to Horizon, kind of in that little lull August moment, and realized how amazing it was. And I know a lot of people before Destiny played it and like were on Twitter like just went back to Horizon after months of ignoring it, and I'm loving it. Like Damon Hatfield from GameScoop was one of them that was just like, I don't know what's going on, but it's really nice to be back in this world. And I feel like maybe there'll be that same sort of thing with 3D adventure games. Like people will start to kind of get that standard lowered back a little bit, where it's like, all right, it doesn't need to be Mario quality, but Mario's gonna forever change 3D platformers now, especially that ability to just capture anything. Like it makes me wonder, are they gonna do an Odyssey 2? Are they gonna do a DLC? Or is Cappy a character now where you can't move forward without Cappy? Like he's always gonna be with Mario. He's always gonna be a part of his adventure, and that's just Mario's hat now, because they have done a really good job at making Mario's hat sort of a symbol of Nintendo. They could easily sort of be like, oh, that's not Mario's hat, that's Cappy. Cappy is our mascot.
Well, it seems to make Mario's hat actually seem important now. It never has really seemed. For some reason, it's always just been like, oh, he needs his hat on. And it's like, he doesn't have
the
his
monkey
power
takes
without...
it, you get weaker.
It's like, it makes no sense at all. What's so special about his hat? And this actually gives some value and actually puts it to a brilliant use, I find. So, I mean, I just worry about that in terms of, Yoshi's not a consistent mechanic throughout every Mario. It would seem like it would have to maybe be a direct sequel or something related maybe to the Odyssey, just because
the thing
of how much of the
word Odyssey is not necessarily related to Cappy. It's the ship that you're on,
Yeah, but isn't that also kind of hat looking? I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's actually I think the Cap Kingdom. I think it's like their homes basically.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Captain Olimar's ship.
I just do think that it's going to be tough. I mean, but the thing is that they probably are going to go back to 3D World type games for a while. They're not going to go back to maybe an Odyssey 2, I would think, like, right away. Maybe. There's always a chance, Miyamoto when 64 came out, he wanted to do 64 2, like with co-op and all that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't completely rule it out that Miyamoto would be like, yeah, let's just go Odyssey 2. This is really freaking awesome.
Yeah, like you and Tiara, like you can have like Tiara being thrown out there and stuff. And
yeah, so I mean,
there are other Cappies out there.
I think it would also be something that people would be like, whoa, like, you know, if they did that, it would be a way to keep the Switch. You know, they have this new engine probably built up for Odyssey and all this, you know, ability and team to pass on to the maybe younger team like they do with all their other projects, and have them do Odyssey 2 with like even more creativity and
kingdoms,
like
just DLC,
yeah.
and like just do a season pass, $30, pure profit.
Well, I just think, you know, like utilize the engines that they have to make an Odyssey 2 next year, or announced for, you know, 2019. So that the Switch just has kind of life that's really good for that. But, you know, I think that they could also return to 3D worlds, that kind of thing, and then go back and think about what they're going to do, because it kind of seemed that way with Galaxy almost. Like, how are they going to go, you know, they have to go somewhere beyond that because of the ability that this mechanic opened up for so much. And maybe not as dramatically as Cappy, but it seems somewhat similar in terms of it was like a really dramatic thing that really changed it up, and now they've kind of eliminated that, but they can still utilize certain elements of that. So I don't know. It's like maybe you'd run into Cappy again for a little bit, like
like one level or something.
Yeah,
like he like runs into you, goes in your hat, and allows you to possess people or whatever. I mean, I mean, 3D World did have the Galaxy, basically, like, you know, whole world to explore. Just like I mean, if you beat the game, spoilers for 3D World, you can go up into outer space, and there's Galaxy kind of themed, you know, music and levels. You can unlock Rosalina and play as her, and, you know, they could easily do, I mean, we don't know, we haven't completed Odyssey, and please avoid, you know, spoiler discussion in the comments beyond, try to keep it to stuff that we've seen in trailers and stuff that we discuss here in this episode. We're trying to kind of curate the discussion and not be super spoiler heavy, but I mean, they've made the moon very prominent in everything, from the cutscenes where the moon's always in the background to if you look up in the sky, you see the moon. In New Donk City, there's like the central plaza has like the moon as its own thing. Like, it seems very likely. I think even in the Superstar Jump song, I think she says like, so let's fly to the moon or something. Like, I think it's very clear that the moon is probably some sort of end game stuff based on like pure speculation. We're not spoiling anything there. It's just imagining where the game could go for some end game content or post game content. And if that's the case, I bet we're going to see lots of Galaxy motifs, you know.
Or whatever if we go to other planets like Venus,
like,
and
I mean, and that's the thing, if it's Odyssey and they do season passes, or if they have some post game stuff or whatever, like, we're building up our ship to go fly crazy places. Like, it seems well within reason that they could be like, all right, you know, the Galaxy or the Odyssey season pass is you're going back to, you know, a different galaxy, and there's the Lumas there, and your Rosalina's in it, and it's a whole new story with her, and you're going to help her out. Or, you know, you're going back, or they could add in, like we were talking about, the Delfino Kingdom, you know, the Mushroom Kingdom, where you go back and it's like just classic Mushroom Kingdom levels, reimagining like
I thought the Mushroom Kingdom was in it. But
huh?
I thought the Mushroom Kingdom was in it. That way, you know, because we see it on the map in the amiibos or whatever. But
maybe, yeah, I don't know.
I thought that was no.
But yeah, maybe. I don't know. But, and I mean, yeah, so they could go back there, and I mean, imagine like having a Bob-omb Battlefield Kingdom, or, you know, it's just like, and it's the Bob-omb Battlefield, and there's Bob-ombs that you can possess everywhere, and they just I mean, that level in Super Mario 64 could be kind of expanded and fit well within the size of what we've seen kind of in Odyssey so far. Like, Cascade Kingdom isn't not much bigger than that. It's just way more packed. And so they could reimagine stuff like that and go back to it. And yeah, it's just, the possibilities are awesome. I'm actually very surprised. We were talking earlier about the concept of the game and what we like about that. I'm very surprised at how much I am enjoying how the kingdoms are sort of segmented and that there's not really a hub world. I was a little disappointed when I found out that the ship is basically your hub world, because it's always just nice to kind of go back to Delfino Plaza and then use that to go, or like exploring, Peach's Castle to go to the different paintings was really fun. And I was kind of disappointed that it's really just like a mini, like a map you're kind of using to select the kingdoms. But it hasn't been bad at all. And we were talking about Zelda. It makes me wonder how big Super Mario Odyssey is if you were to take all the kingdoms and just put them on one map. Like what the actual like surface would be and how expansive that would be. Like I imagine looking out at the Metro Kingdom and how big that seems when you first enter it. And imagine if, attached right to the side was the Sand Kingdom, and attached to the other side was, the Cascade Kingdom, and it's just all one big chunk that you can just seamlessly go to. Like, how big would that world be? Probably similar to Hyrule.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I was thinking of something, but now I lost track of it. Oh well.
Just talking about sequels and DLC, it's just that's more just speculation talk. What we can talk about is, we've talked about, the concept, the graphics, the sound, how those all work together, but what about controller in hand, how it feels to play? I had talked about how when I played it at the Nintendo World Championships and when I played it at Target, how I continuously thought the controls were really wonky and that Mario didn't control precisely where I wanted him to go. And we had talked about how once I got my hands on the game and could just play it for a few hours, I'd probably get it after playing beyond 10 minutes. Mm-hmm. One thing that I definitely had to do that has helped a lot was I boosted the sensitivity of the camera.
Yeah, I just did that too.
Yeah, I boosted that to be as high as it could go, because default settings, the camera pretty much stays in one spot, and that was what made Mario so tricky to control. Was you would move him with the left stick, and then the camera would kind of slowly follow him if you were like instinctively kind of moving the camera to follow behind him. And it made it so there's a lot of times in the demos I would be playing and I'd be controlling Mario like by pressing for him to walk forward, but he was actually walking like left on the screen, and so I wasn't exactly seeing where he was going. Now I have the camera at high sensitivity settings, and I can kind of constantly be tapping it to be controlling Mario from behind, which feels way more natural. And so I did that, and I've also been playing with a Pro Controller or attached Joy-Cons. Mm-hmm. And at the demos, they always had you play with detached Joy-Cons, which I couldn't do. So,
well, what I noticed too is that I was just before the podcast, I had to go into detached Joy-Con mode for a minute, and I found that for some reason it felt way better now that I had actually been playing a lot like with it attached and with Pro Controller, and kind of knew his movement and kind of, had a feel for it a lot better, that I was like, oh, this feels like way better for some reason than it did initially when I tried it, like when I first was playing it. Because, then it was just, it all felt kind of second nature, where I didn't have to think of it. And it was actually pretty comfortable and cool to try it out. So, I would definitely try it out again and see what you think, if it is like improved at all, because
I would be actually pretty down for that, because that's the other discussion to have, is the motion control aspect of it. Motion controls, they say, are optional, but there's some pretty not crucial moments, but moments where you really need to be quick with throwing Cappy around, and there's certain little movements with the controller that make Cappy's movements really easy to control. And so if you're not using motion controls, it can be pretty tough to get the accomplishments done. Like, one example is there'll be a star or something where you stand in the middle of a row of flowers, you spin Cappy around to get all the flowers all around you all at once. And you can kind of do that with a controller if you flick your controller, or if you shake your handheld or whatever. But if you have the Joy-Cons, it's a simple, you push your Joy-Cons to the left and you throw Cappy that way, which is, it's just super tough to do in handheld mode. And so there's some of those moments where it's just really kind of a bummer that's so integral to the game. But otherwise, I've been pretty fine without it. But it would be really nice. Like, I think if you're climbing a pole, if you shake the Joy-Cons, you climb faster. And, like, it kind of sucks to, like, shake my entire handheld, like, vigorously to climb up a pole faster. So I don't do it. Usually I just go up slower. But it'd be nice to, like, have my Joy-Cons at the side and just kind of start, a little drum roll almost. And you just bolt up the pole or something. That could be kind of fun. But I've been able to play, I think, 50% in handheld mode and the other 50% with a Pro Controller, and I've been enjoying the game and the playability just fine.
For some reason, I think I've been playing this game in handheld mode more than like I ever did Breath of the Wild or anything else. Like,
Yeah.
I feel compelled to kind of just pick it up and bring it over and play a
Yep.
little bit, or go sit on the couch and like, go find a quick moon and have a really fun platforming experience. It's basically like playing a Mario level really quick, and
Yeah.
so it's just. And I always find that I go and visit a world or a kingdom and end up leaving with like 4 or 5, 6 or 10 moons. It's like somehow I go in and I end up finding more, or getting a clue to where to find some more coins or something like that. So
Yeah.
it's nonstop. It's interesting how when you step away for a bit and go back in and then end up finding what when you'd been searching for an hour before and couldn't find anything again, put it down, then you go back, and then all of a sudden you have like 5 moons, and you're like, where did these come from? But
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Yeah, interesting. So I just bought the Super Mario Odyssey Wedding Mario amiibo. So it's Mario in the wedding tux. And I scanned it in on a kingdom I'm in right now, one of the smaller ones. And you've been there, Zach. It's one of them. And so I have, I need 6 more stars or 6 more moons. And I went to scan in the amiibo, which normally, this is kind of one of my gripes with the game. If you scan in an amiibo to get the costume, the amiibo also go out hunting for one of the power moons for you. And they come back with a hint of where to find it, which I just don't want hints like that. I just want to be able to go find them on my own. But I have 6 remaining moons here, and I scanned in the Mario one, and he was like, "Oh, you can't have any more hints for this kingdom, but I'll go ahead and give you the outfit for Mario." And so I'm just gonna go scan in if I have any more amiibo. I'm gonna go scan them in here because whatever the last few moons are, there's no hints for them. So that was kind of comforting to know that you can't just buy hints and scan in for hints for every possible moon. Like, to get 100% full completion in the game, you do have to kind of do the hunting yourself. Even, like, I was looking for the regional coins for the Metro Kingdom and was going around hunting for those. I mean, we got insanely lucky that the last 5 you needed, 2 of them were the same 2 that I needed as well. But if you had suggested those and I had already found them, like, I don't even know like where I'd begin with like a guidebook. Like, you'd have to go re-find all 100 again to.
Yeah, that was a crazy coincidence that it happened to be the exact ones, and I said it right away. Like, I wonder if these are the ones you're searching for.
Yeah.
And then you're like, maybe they were. Like a while later.
And the last 3 that you got in that one kingdom were the last 3 that I got as well. So
yeah, I don't know where the final 3 are in Metro. That's what I'm still looking for, and I had to give up. But
I can maybe give you the hint that for the last 3 that I found. But
yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, no. But I mean, yeah. It's really cool. There, if you do struggle with finding things, and you don't want to spend your entire days looking for all the moons, but you want to get 100%. There are certain, like Takatu, for example, he's the cockatoo in the game that can give you hints. And it's really cool because he'll give you a hint for where a power moon is by saying the name of the power moon. And so one of the power moon names, for example, could be, inside the brick wall. And that's the only hint that he'll give you. And so you'll be wandering around and you'll see a brick wall and you'll be like, oh, I'm going to go, punch that wall or whatever and see if there's a moon inside. And so it kind of, Zach and I were talking off air, it's kind of nice that it's like the classic days of Super Mario 64 where you'd enter a level and it would kind of flat out show you where the power star was and you had to go get to it. It's nice that Takatu is not like, oh, here it is on the map, that's like where it is. He just says the name of it and then you kind of have to use those hints to go find it. And so if you pay Toad or if you pay Uncle Amiibo with an Amiibo, they'll flat out point on the map, okay, it's here. Even then, though, I've had one where they pointed out where it was, and I'm like, wait, how do I get it, though? Like,
yeah, I've had
it's
a couple
supposed
like
to be
that
here,
too. Yeah.
But I don't know how to get it. So the game does have like a perfect little balance of it's accessible for people to try it out, but it's also does have that challenge in the exploration, in the, collecting 100% of everything, which typically a Nintendo game has. I hear you can beat it like the whole Mario Odyssey game, and like, if you just speed run it, I mean, obviously if you speed run it, you could probably beat it in an hour or so.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just play it like going quickly through, it's not that long of like a game. But so far, I've been playing. Every free time I have, I've been playing the game for the past going on 4 days, and I'm pretty sure I have a lot left because I've just been taking my time with everything and searching everywhere, and it's just, yeah, it's awesome. That goes to our kind of closing point of our review discussion of replayability. I'm so happy I own it digitally and on the Switch, because it's just going to be one of those games that even once I collect everything, I feel like I'm going to go back in and try some of the challenges or that they have in some of the worlds, or just explore and go around and recollect certain power stars or power moons. And I don't know like if I'll necessarily like replay it a lot, but I feel like there's always gonna be something to explore in the world. And I would just be so shocked if they don't have like not necessarily a master mode, but like a new or a Super Luigi Odyssey where you can replay the whole game just for the fun of it as Luigi, and he just jumps higher, it's like just for a slight change. Or, you can replay the whole game as Peach and she's wearing her wedding outfit or something, and it's just she has the hover jump or whatever, and they just change it that way. Like, I feel like there's no way, with the way Nintendo's been with a Zelda Season Pass and all the Fire Emblem Season Passes and Mario Kart getting a Season Pass and ARMS getting weekly DLC and Splatoon 2 getting weekly DLC, that Odyssey, their biggest game on the Switch, is getting nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's no way.
Yeah. Well, it's just the way you look at 64 and you look at Sunshine, they didn't really get much afterwards. And
neither did Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask or, Twilight Princess.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, I guess we're in a new era where it might be, but they didn't announce it. Like, they announced the Season Pass for Breath of the Wild right away.
But they also, I'm wondering with that Breath of the Wild Season Pass video got so much bad news and like so many dislikes on the video because it was the whole thing of, all right, so you guys have the Heroes Path mode in the game, but you're selling it to us separately,
Yeah.
Like, I'm paying $60 for the game and you guys have it in there already. I'm wondering if they're like going to wait a week or a month so it doesn't have that impression again of, okay, you guys already have these kingdoms. Why are you selling it to us for extra? Mm-hmm. They're trying to avoid that because they got super bit hard on the Breath of the Wild Season Pass because they announced it the week before and people were just like, don't be gouging us for money so quickly. And so I think someone was saying, or I don't know where I heard it, that like we needed, that there's going to be like another direct sometime before the end of the year, like sometime in November or December, because there was like some announcement that hasn't been clarified yet. Like I don't know what it was dealing with, but basically saying it's very likely we'll get a direct somewhat soon, separate from the Animal Crossing one, which shout out to Animal Crossing, looks awesome. We'll talk about it when it comes out. But I wonder if we're going to get like a winter direct almost, or a fall direct that's entirely Switch based, and they'll announce it then, kind of like as a closer, like here's our big thing.
Yeah, I definitely think they could. I'd really like to see like some remix kind of style things where they just, what I want them to do is, honestly, if I had my best dream scenario, it'd be they hand it off to, a younger team with some veterans looking over, like they're doing with how they do the Pokemon games, and have them just kind of remix the stages. Like, don't have to make too many new assets or anything. Just like kind of how the Lost Levels is. Make a sequel to Odyssey where it just kind of goes crazy with, even, switching up, having it all kind of like you say, doing maybe like they did with New Super Mario Bros. U, where they do like New Luigi U, but it's the same kingdoms. There's just everything inside they've been gutted and kind of switched out for new tunnels and new, things to explore. And I think a way to take the engine and take the already existing assets and all the, refined gameplay and just, rearrange it and do different kind of cool stuff with it and give us that. They can do it as DLC, or they could do it as, a brand new, Odyssey 2 sort of thing, or, but I just wonder what would garner the best, like, positive reception, and I think people would just totally flip about Odyssey 2 announced at E3 or something. But and to know that because I just wonder, what's Nintendo gonna do in the future? They keep coming out and saying that they have they're gonna keep up with what they've done in 2017 through 2018 and 2019 and just going into the future. And it's like, I mean, we do look at there's Metroid and Pokemon coming and Yoshi and Kirby.
Yeah, you have to imagine that Metroid's either like the big 2018 like fall game or 2018 spring game. Pokemon's probably their big like fall 2019 game.
Yeah, but they had two, they've had so many big games this year. I mean, it's not even just two. It's not even just Zelda and Mario. It's like they had Splatoon 2 come out, and they had ARMS, and they had Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which did really amazingly well for being a port.
And
it's
Pokken,
they've had so much. It's been such a busy
Mario
year.
Plus Rabbids too. They kind of collaborated on.
It's just so much fit in there, and then so I don't know. They have a lot to go out of the gate with Mario and Zelda like that. And then to expect, I mean, Pokemon and Metroid will be there. I don't think Kirby and Yoshi are going to be ones that like compete with Mario and Zelda. So
yeah,
we'll have to see what the Xenoblade.
And I guess they do have a brand new Fire Emblem coming out. Like,
yeah, that's awesome too.
It's easy to get caught up in the Warriors, which I hear actually is really fun. But they have like a full-fledged, probably relationships and story and branching paths and multiple endings Fire Emblem coming out, which is going to be awesome and insane, which is also fall or spring 2018. So they have back to back a new Yoshi, a new Kirby, and a new Fire Emblem, and then probably later a new Metroid.
Yeah,
it's just
kind of going back to like the replayability. I was gonna say, like, I was thinking about it and just it's like Mario 64, Mario Sunshine. Those games, they didn't have they weren't as expansive and crazy and packed with stuff as Mario Odyssey is. It seems like there's a little bit more of a there's a conservativeness to those games. There's a refined, like, it's a more conquerable feeling to it that I wonder in terms of replayability. Definitely one of the things it has going for it is just that it feels so good to play. It's fun. Like, you want to go back in there, and the mechanics feel just great. So it's a pleasurable experience, kind of like Super Mario World. It kind of makes me think about that in terms of like, now I'm thinking about it more. I definitely do go back and play Super Mario World, every couple, few years, and even though it's not necessarily very difficult or challenging for me, it just feels so good that I want to go back and like see the atmosphere and while it's not like challenging me a ton, sure, it's like doing it all good and running through the level like with style and all that. It's like I don't know, something about it, even though I know everything that's coming up, there's some compelling replayability factor. And so, and then I just wonder if the expansiveness, in terms of going in and having too much and to remember to collect or where to go, will be a hindrance, or maybe that'll even benefit it in the future because it's like you'll go back in and be like, okay, now where was everything? Like, whereas in 64 and Sunshine, it's kind of like everything comes back once you've replayed it every couple of years, repeatedly. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, but I definitely think it has some things going for it, and maybe we'll have to see over time because I don't know right now. But maybe certain things will end up, hindering that too. I don't know.
And I hear one thing I hear also is that and once again, not going into spoilers because I don't know them, but I just hear. I've read tweets and posts and stuff that are like, man, Mario Odyssey is amazing, 10 out of 10 game, and the post game is so good. Like, I've heard that several times, and maybe it's as simple as like there's a few more worlds. Like Nintendo always does that, where it's like you get to the last world and then they add in another thing. Like it could be as simple as that. Like that technically is post game, and maybe people are saying man, the end of the game is great, but that last kingdom is awesome. Like it could be as simple as that, or it could be like when you beat Splatoon 2 and it's like, all right, now go replay every single level again with every different weapon. And like that changes some of the levels and makes it are like really fun incentive to go back and replay some of the old levels with different weapons and add up your kind of, brag rights, I guess, with the game. And I wonder, if they have something like that in store with Odyssey. Like, we don't know that, and if we did know it, we wouldn't share it. But
well, there's definitely many moments, especially in the off, like, when you go into a pipe or something, and there's those like Sunshine-esque, like little mini levels within or within the kingdoms. I find that's where some of the biggest challenges and some of like where my lower regions really start tingling with, like, tightening up and clenching, muscles and all that. Cause it's like, there's some really, tight gameplay elements, especially when you go for, 100% completion, that I'm finding myself in, and even though I do have like 4,000 coins, it's like,
I don't know if you've done Strange Neighborhood or something in the Sand Kingdom, or like it's like a weird neighborhood or something is what it's called. But it's kind of that Sunshine-esque sort of thing, like where you go down into it, you don't have your cap, and it's just like this puzzle, like this platforming puzzle that you have to just be perfect with to get it. And they do a good job usually at there's the moon at the end of the level, but then there's like always that one extra moon in the middle of the level that like you have to go above and beyond to get it. And I just love things like that. Real quick, before we close out, because we are kind of nearing the end of our show, I want to Google how many stars were there in Super Mario 3D World. Because we know there's 120. There are 85 stamps and 380 green stars in Super Mario 3D World. So yeah, and I think you and I said it was so crazy. In the first 3 kingdoms alone, I think in Super Mario Odyssey, there's already more power moons than there were stars in Super Mario 64. Like, and granted, some of those are, you sneeze, you get a power moon. Like, some of them are super easy, but I mean, even if you were to throw those ones out, I guess, like, you'd still have so much more content here than even 3D World, which I was wondering if 3D World was going to end up having more stuff to collect overall with the stamps, with 85 stamps. But there's no way when you count in regional coins, and even if you take regional coins and say each regional coin is in a bundle of 3, so there's really only like 30 per world. Yeah. Like, that's still like so much to go find and seek out, and some of them are like super tricky to find. Like, some are like glaringly out in the open, but others are just, you have to be on a hunt to get them. And so the game is just jam packed. What's this say? How many green stars were in Galaxy 2? Once you get 120 power stars, so 120 in Galaxy 2 as well. And then and I think there were some things like where you had to like get, replay him as Luigi or something. I'm not too sure, but yeah, so it's definitely the most packed Mario game. It's the most, there's the most amount of freedom with this game as far as gameplay goes with the Cappy abilities. It's the most gorgeous Mario, and it's all on the Switch, which is just a perfect little console. The HD Rumble is awesome. Like, just the little vibrations, like, especially there's some moons where you have to feel the vibrations to get it just right. It's so cool, so great. Yeah. Can't wait to go play some more.
Make sure you up that sensitivity too. I don't know if I just noticed that there's a rumble like intensity option. So I set that to like 11. So
you crank it up to 11. But
so I think it's safe to say you love Super Mario Odyssey.
Yep, it's a 10 out of 10 game. If you don't have a Switch, you should buy a Switch to play it, and Breath of the Wild, and Splatoon 2 and Mario Kart and all of that. But go out and get one of those bundles with the red Joy-Cons and the carrying case. You're going to love the game so much, you're going to be happy you have all the, accoutrements.
I think Noah was able to pick up the bundle, the Odyssey bundle.
Was he really?
Yeah. I asked him. He said he was going to play it tonight.
That's awesome.
That was like the other night, so.
That's legit. Yeah, so I saw one of the bundles at Target. I got the Mario Amiibo, and I just checked. I realized I left it out, and I was like, oh, crap, is Ollie, like, chewing that up? My puppy? He's like, you going to get you that? I left it just, like, out on the coffee table. But I also have the Peach and Bowser one on the way, and so, you can get those at Target, and they're kind of available. But, you know how Nintendo stock goes. It could be gone in a moment and be the rarest thing in the world, so go out and grab it. If you have a Switch and you don't own Mario yet, like, I get that some people don't like 3D platformers and they don't like, cutesy colory games or whatever. They want the more realism, fantasy stuff, but they
want to kill some people.
Yeah, you have to just, I don't know. Like, you have to really dislike this sort of franchise and genre to not get some enjoyment out of this game. It's such a perfect game. I think you were saying the highest rated game on GameRatings.com, like, of all time. It's crazy. So go out, pick it up. We're gonna probably hang out now and go play some more, or get other work done so we can play more later. Whatever the case, it's such an awesome game. We can't wait to play more. Please. I get that it's not a heavy story game. You're not going to be spoiling things, or there's not much to spoil in terms of story and all that. But please be cool in the comments if you've played farther than other people, or if you've beat the game. Really lean more towards cautious, because it's such a great game. You wouldn't want to ruin the experience for anyone. There's been a lot of magical moments where I've been anticipating something from the trailer, but then the game throws a curveball and it's not the way I anticipated it. And so lean towards being safe rather than sorry, because we will get upset with you if we see people talking in the comments of being loose with their lips. And so try to be cautious with all that, and we'll be back next week with discussion on what's next week. I'm not too sure. I think maybe the Horizon Zero Dawn DLCs this week, so I can maybe touch on that a little bit. Probably continued impressions of Odyssey, and maybe even it'd be nice, actually, we should try to make sure to dedicate some time and maybe even have a good discussion on Destiny 2 next week. That could be kind of fun to talk about how that game's going. And so, yeah, whatever the case, we'll be back next week with the hottest news in gaming, the Boone scoops.
Yeah.
Anything you need to say?
Nope.
All right.
That's
well, until next time. Go.
Bye.